Welcome to the channel all about economic board games. Today I'm going to be giving you an overview of this game, Augsburg 1520, and you can see the designer there at the top. And this is brought to you by these guys, Alia and Rio Grande. Now we are going to be acting as Jacob Fugger, the gold for the kings and the queens. Now the artwork is very unique. It's one of the older games, this one 2007 I believe, and it plays 2 to 5 players. Takes roughly 25 to 75 minutes depending on that player count you're going for. And in this game, acting as Jacob Fugger, each player reenacts him. You're going to be loaning out money to these nobles in the form of these sort of IOU cards, and instead of getting your money back, you'll be hoping to get better privileges. Now this is an auction game. If you don't like auction games, I'd probably switch off now. And to begin with then, each player's got this player board in front of you. You got these 3 columns. This is where you get your money, your victory points, and this is how you get these debt certificates, which are these cards down here. Now let's just say the yellows are first. The first phase is all about auctioning, and you're literally just going to take your token, you're going to put it on Philippe here, and you're going to work your way from left to right through all the nobles. So we start with Philippe. Now this player is then going to bid a number of cards secretly, so these will be kept secret. You do start with 2 of these jokers, and you can see they're kind of different from the others, and all these cards make up these 4 nobles here, and Maximilian is slightly different in this game. So you start off with 7 and you decide how many you want to keep, because you have to pay the price, and your opponents can only ever see the back of it when you come to pay it. And you start with like 1500 money in this game, and you'd spend that. So depending on which ones you want to loan out money, and these will be your IOUs in terms of your debt repayment. So to begin with, you are going to be auctioning off Philippe and hopefully attaining one of these 5 privileges up here, which is 10 in the box. So these guys, it's kind of like a hand of poker. Now you can only sort of auction off the actual physical person you've got, so you couldn't use Louise in this case to for an auction for Philippe. You'd have to only use Philippe cards, or you can use jokers, but you can never just use your entirety of jokers. So let's just say we make the first bid and we say 2 cards. Obviously we've only got 1 of Philippe, so we're going to have to back it up. Now you don't necessarily have to choose which cards you're going to go for there and then. You're just making a bid of 2, trying to oust your opponents basically. So if we go to the blue player here, this is kind of a 2-player setup. They will either decide to go, you know, I'm going to pass, I don't really want to use my cards on that. Or you could call it, like in poker, or you could raise it. And again, you don't have to show the cards or choose, but in this case, you can see they start with the 2 jokers. They've picked up a joker, which if they've bought that one, they'd have that in the hand, and they got these 2. And all this information is secret, obviously. So they decide, you know what, I'm going to call it. So then both players are going to have to show their 2 cards. That is when they pick which ones to do, and then you show them simultaneously. So this yellow player goes for these 2 here, and the blue player has gone for these 2. And in this case, it's the highest card that wins. So you can see the 16, it's not an accumulative, so it's not 16 plus 2. You ignore that one, you ignore this one, and it's literally this player wins. These guys get their cards back in their hand, and they get a 100 sort of dollar, well, it's 100 money bonus. These guys have actually spent those cards to win the privilege, so those go face up in the discard pile, and then the winners get to choose one of these 5 privileges. Now what do these do? So the yellow, basically, well, the gold coins basically mean you can go up a step on your gold area here. You start with 600, which means at the end of the round you're going to get 600 money, which is crucial because you want money to be able to buy more of these cards when you have a chance to take them. But as you say use this option here, you can increase the step, so you can basically go up the column, and you've got these sort of cards here. So you take the 900 one in this case, if that's what you wanted to do, and you can put it there, and you can see as you go higher you're going to get more money at the end of the round. So that's what this option means. This one here is basically going to the end column. You can see they're all symbology matching there, and this is the violet section, and you can go up a level. So it's called steps, and you can basically acquire these to get better things. So you can see as you go up this, you're going to start with 4 debt certificates, which is basically at the end of the round you get to take 4 of these, and you purchase as many of those as you want. Whereas if you get more, you get 5, you get 6, and if you get all up here, you get 6 plus 1 free, which means you don't have to pay for it. You can also see this one here means that you get to take 2 cards from the top of the deck, and you get to put 1 back of any of your cards in your hand. and there's a host of them. This one goes up on your prestige. You've got a couple of prestige, they slightly vary. That one lets you get 500 money straight away, and you go up 6 victory points on the track round here, which I'll go through in a minute. So there's a host of different things, and having been the winner of the first auction, it gives you first dibs over one of these. Now, you can only pick 2 of the 3 on offer, so it's very sort of you have to be very careful as to which ones you go for and how they improve the steps and give you, you know, various benefits. So let's just say they go for this one. They choose the top option and they take the yellow one here, which, well, I've already done that. Was it Blues who won it? I can't remember who won it, but let's just say these guys won the auction. And then they're going to go for this this option here, which is the end column, and they're going to get the 5 debt certificate. Now, as well as just going up steps, you could use that to act out a privilege which you've already attained. So you can see as you go up, in this case your privilege, it's got a ... which means you can basically, if you had acquired them, you could use them, but it's you can build a church or a cathedral instead of going up a step in this case. Now, why do you want to build a church or a cathedral? Well, it's a very unique mechanic in this game where as you get victory points, you will only get to a maximum of 25, and you'll keep sort of hitting against it and you can't go any further unless you build a church. And until you build that church, you won't be going past 25 victory points. And you can see whoever builds the first church is paying 900, then 700, and it gradually gets cheaper. And it's the same for this 45 victory point here. To get past that, you need to have built a cathedral, and you can see 1200, 900, so the first person there's paying slightly more. So it's sort of a nice catch-up mechanism there. Now, as well, as you go up, say, one of these tracks, you can see you've got step 1, 2, and 3, and when someone goes to take the 4th step, it's kind of like a bigger sort of card token here. It actually bumps off that one to cover this, and this one, if that one wasn't available in this open space, you just pinch it off another player, which is great. So say this player had it, you'd actually pinch it off him, they'd get some compensation, either a victory point or 100 money, and the 3rd one would actually go to them if they had to relinquish that one. So there's a bit of interesting play between players as to when you want to get these. Now, I'll just sort of go through this violet one. So 4, 5, if you do have this one at the end of the round, you're going to get 1 free what they call debt collection cards, and you get to take 6 of those cards as well. But remember, you have to pay for those depending on how many you want to keep. And you can see if that zooms in, the privilege, so back to these options at the top. So rather than just going up a step, you can activate the privilege we mentioned. So you can activate the master builder or the minter. Now, the minter just means you're going to build it, and that gives you 1 free debt certificate at the end. So once you've actually acquired that there. Now, the build a church or cathedral option, the master build, is interesting because rather than having to use one of these options to build it, this lets you do it for free, sort of extra. So you can take this action to do something else, go up a step, or you don't even have to do that. You could do these 2 and then build your church. Now, throughout the game, that's basically an extra, 2 extra actions rather than having to use them, these options instead. So that's nice. And then once you build your church and your cathedral, you put it there. And I think it's one of those break the ties if you're on even victory points, whoever's spent the most on them. And it's the same for this one here. So as you go up, you're going to be putting 5 prestige points, 8 prestige, and then 12 will kick that one out. And there's something called letter of nobility and coat of arms, which you hopefully will be able to acquire. And basically these are on the side of the board as well, and whoever gets there first, see, coat of arms is going to get 4 points, next person's going to get 3 and 2, and the letter of nobility. So these will be rigid and fixed on your board once you've acquired them. And at the end of the round, I'll go through that in a minute, but even if someone decides to pinch this off you and you end up with the other one, those remain there, which is important. So after you've auctioned this one, whoever won that goes over to Louise, and let's just say the yellows did win that. They will then place the first bid again. So you can see, what did we spend? Well, we already spent, I think it was actually these players, blue, who won that one. So they're going to place first bid, and they go, right, 2. So they have to play, actually they're going to go 3. They really want this one to win. So they go 3. Now, a bit more on the auction then. The opponents, again, it's a poker hand, so they can either pass, call, or raise. So it's crucial as to what the first bid is, because they've made a bid of 3, and you'll notice that these players have got 1 card in the form of Louise, and they've got 2 jokers here, so they could bid for it, so they could say call, but they've only got a maximum number of 2, so you know, what's the point really? Well, there could be a point. There's a lot of strategy to the auction, but let's just say they've been, you know, they're afraid to go for the free. They want to reserve their cards because they want to use them on one of the other auctions, potentially Maximilian. So these guys bidding free has made everyone else sort of scared, and they've immediately won the auction. There was no revealing of cards, and they would literally just place these and show everyone else what they are, put them on the discard pile, and they'd win it. So I guess the distinction there is that if you manage to outbid your opponents by offering more cards, then it doesn't even come down to the high number, which is crucial because the numbers vary from, I think it's 1 to 17, and even though this player might have 17 and think, oh, I'm easily going to win this bid because I've got a 17, if the opponents play more cards and out you on the cards, so in this case they've only got 3, if another player said I want to raise it 4 cards, these guys can't even participate even though they might have the 17. So there's a lot of strategy to the auction mechanic there, and basically you keep going through these guys. When you get to the end, you can play any card you want. So the rules are basically whoever has the highest card, if you show the cards, or whoever has the most cards will win the auction. You will then, as you say, get these as you go along, and you'll improve these, and at the end of the round you will literally just take your money. So you take the top one only, they're not accumulative, so 900, you take 5 victory points and add that, and in this case, if they'd managed to get up here, they get 1 free, and they get 6 of these debt certificates. So they'd take the top 6, and then they'd decide which ones they want to keep and pay the cost, and that sort of prepares your hand for next time, because it's similar to that poker type feel. Now, interestingly, you look at the top here, you'll take any victory points, take any free debt certificates, and you kind of need, you know, to have some money in hand so you can afford to buy those debt certificates. You'll then reset the round. So in a 2-player game, there's only 4 rounds, and you can see how it varies from player to player. These will have all been used, and you bring out the next 5. Now there's only 10 in there, so once you've gone through 2 rounds, you'll reshuffle all of those, and you keep going until the last round. There's no end game scoring. Money means nothing in this game, and the debt certificates don't do anything. It's literally just prestige. So in the last round, it's kind of interesting because you're not really after the money, and you're not really, unless you really need to build your cathedral, because you can't get past the 45 points, and it might be a case that, you know, no one's built a cathedral and you're all bumping up against it, and it comes down to whoever has the highest value church in that case. So as well, if you don't decide to use any of these actions, say 2 to 3, you can get 2 victory points for skipping one. You might want to use this one and just get 2 victory points instead, which is an interesting way to get points. And if you have been ousted, there's some catch-up mechanisms. So if you don't win the auction, you get 150 for the 3rd highest bid as well. So the main function in this game is that auction mechanic with that poker-like style, getting the right cards at the right time to win as many of these auctions as you can, to get the best benefits, to increase your money, your prestige, and get more cards in the next round. And it's kind of like that engine builder trying to oust your opponent, but the auction mechanic, folks, is really, really unique for a game that's such under the radar for me. A fabulous one, this one, and that is Augsburg 1520.